Yeah, this will be a challenging one. Oops, I just kicked some stuff on the floor, my shoes. I do keep them in the way. Enough of that. Let's just get stuck in and do this demo. This is a challenging one. These ones can sometimes turn up a treat and sometimes they can just go on and on and on. I think 200%, or maybe a bit less than 200. I think I'm going to just go with 141. Okay, let's see what this challenging one is. It is, yes, you've guessed it, it's a can. But what sort of can is it? It is a Milo can. So it's a Milo. This is just the shit at the back. So we'll just turn that around. It's a Milo can. So it's a can, which means it can be very difficult, pardon the pun. Very difficult things to do really well. I'm just trying to line this up nicely. Okay, let's see how we go. If we can get it first go, I'll be really chuffed. Might still look good even though it wheeled off to the side. Sometimes they look good if you don't have a perfect or a near perfect roll. Sometimes a bit of an error can look good, and that looks really interesting, except the word Milo isn't seriously on display. It's not what I want. It's a bit shady, which I don't like. Maybe we could lighten it a bit. So we're just going to lie it on the glass like so. I think that was a fuck up. So we're just going to pull it up because I know it's not going to work. It didn't work. It's hard to get it to roll. Again, it's wheeled off to the side, but we'll still print it. If I could just get the word Milo and the person in the frame, that looks really an interesting piece. It looks like it's got potential, even though it's still not what I want. I'm going to try again. And this is what I hate about these demos, is that you got to keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying sometimes to get a decent result. That didn't turn out too well, or did it? Let's just see. Yeah, there we go. We thought it wasn't a goer, and now it has. It's worked. Now we just have to work out how to reprocess that image to make it more artistic, more interesting. So we got that. We didn't have to go too far into it this time. So we're just going to retire this, and we're going to use this as our master copy. I'm not sure how we're going to make it happen, if we're going to make it a realism or a totally abstract piece. So we're going to make it into an abstract. I'm just trying to decide how to make it work. It's a tricky one, folks. That's the tricky bit. Well, even when you get a good movement, you got to try and work out how to make it into something really artistic and clever. yeah, that looks interesting. We got the man in the middle there. I still don't know. I'm not totally satisfied, even though that does look really nice. Maybe we could, because he is the centerpiece. He is the sports person. We just have to enlarge it on the horizontal and maybe at the vertical. I don't know if this is what we're after. I'm going to go with my intuition. It's not an easy thing to follow your intuition, to know what's at hand and what's not, what is a good decision and what's a shit one when it comes to being an artist. A photocopier artist like myself who uses social media as a way of self-promotion. I've always been a self-promoter, folks. I've never been the kind of person that likes to wait for something to happen and we've lost our settings. I've never been the kind of person that likes to wait because I don't trust that people are going to cooperate and make something of it. I used to go to art galleries when I was young, trying to interest them in my work, but I always had a gut feeling that the art galleries weren't going to cooperate, so I just can't wait to become well recognised by having exhibitions, say with other people, other artists, and having them in these little rented places and having your pictures framed. But I made some stupid errors in my life, and basically I had opportunities where I didn't have to be aggressively self-promoting my stuff, but that's the thing. I've always been, some people might think I'm a real, what's the word? I forgot the word. I can't think of the word. I can't think of a word. Egotistical or up themselves, thinking that I'm better than others, and sometimes you have to think like that, folks, to get ahead, and it's really not easy trying to, that looks like it's a bit too minimalist, and this has got to go a little bit less. I think it's too big. But basically, sometimes you have to be aggressively self-promoting because there's no other way. People are not going to appreciate your stuff unless, you have to fucking do it. You can't just wait for someone or something. You've got to make it happen, and that's how I see it. I'm not the kind of person who's popular. I've never been a popular person. I guess that lack of popularity sort of translates into no one's going to want my stuff sort of thing, and you sort of feel that it's the only way sometimes is to just be aggressive and self-promote. And we have this wonderful social media that we never had in the 90s or the 80s. We never had social media back then. It was a different time in history. So I think we're going to make that a bit smaller. I don't have time or desire to have small art exhibitions and sort of do the art gallery rounds, as I call it. And the art gallery rounds are just so, compared with what we have now, social media, are just so inefficient and slow. It might have worked in the 90s, but it doesn't work now. Wonder if we're going to make that the centre of our job. So, you know, it's not an easy thing being an artist. I always wanted to be a photocopier technician, because being a technician you get paid. Being an artist, you pay to be an artist. You don't get paid to make art, unless you're a Ken Doan or some other snobby person like him who creates crap like children's paintings or children's drawings, and he makes a fucking mozza. Well, people like him are the exception. I just can't make money out of this, folks, and I need the money to keep it going. So I work in a boring job because I had brain damage at birth. It affects the way I learn and do things, so I'm disabled, and basically I work in a sheltered workshop, which is really, really boring because I'm not the sum total of my disability. I'm not totally disabled. It's not like it's not like I have a condition like Down syndrome, for example, where it totally affects your IQ. Whereas for me, it's parts of the brain work badly and parts of the brain work really well. And having that combination can sometimes be a little bit clashy, because the parts of your brain that are being recognised in the workplace are your fucking disabled bits, and your smart bits of your brain are crying out for recognition. And it's really difficult to deal with that, to be have a partial intellectual disability, not a global one like Down syndrome. So anyway, that looks really quite interesting. I think now we can call this demo quits.